Well, friends, trust that you're having a great week. Just want to bring before you our weekly video for this week. Firstly, an update on our giving for the month of May. I want to let you know that our giving in May was $14,000 below what was pledged, which equates to a 14% underrun in what was pledged for the month of May. Now, we all understand the reasons for that. We're starting to see some of the economic impacts of COVID affect the church and giving here at Norwest. Can I start by saying just a big thank you to all of you who give here and who strive to give here. That's pretty much 99% of the church. You make mission and ministry possible here at Norwest Anglican as we seek to serve Jesus, as we long to see him as King of every home and every heart. And also a great thank you to you for the way that you enable mission to run around the world. And we think of all our missionaries all over the place. That happens because we give here. So God bless you. I know that your giving is sacrificial. Please continue to give as you're able. If you're in a position of financial, if God's placed you in a particular position where you're able to give a bit more for a season, that would be enormously helpful. But I really want to just thank God for your partnership, financial partnership in the ministry of the gospel through Norwest. And just a word to those who have needed to pull back their giving for a season. I just want to say that's totally fine. We understand why that is the case. God bless you. And if we can serve you in any way, let us know, as you need to pull back that giving for a season as well. Secondly, I want to talk to you today about our church reopening. You'll have heard in the media on Monday that churches now are able to welcome 50 people onto their church property for religious gatherings. We thank God for this easing of restrictions that kicked in 2 days ago on Monday of this week. Now, whilst that might sound like it changes everything, it doesn't actually change as much as it sounds. Yes, we can start having a few more community groups on site here at the one time. Yes, we're thinking about what restarting certain aspects of kids and youth ministry cautiously and in the weeks to come might look like. But in regards to Sundays, it's really only a very small change. Let me put it like this. On an average Sunday, we have around 700 people here on our property. That's about 450 in the morning and around 250 in the evening. Now, when you think about it, there's a lot of gatherings of 50 that would need to happen across a day to get us all here together. There's actually not enough hours in the day. The maths don't add up. So whilst we are exploring sensible ways to get small groups of people in to join us for church on Sundays here on site, a community group here or another group there, it will be our live stream services that will continue to be the way that the majority of us gather around God's word and with one another virtually in the weeks and months to come. You know, every time restrictions are eased, we consider that in our forward planning, and we're trying to always think a few steps ahead. And then we speak to our leaders in the church about that, what we're thinking, to get their wisdom and insight as well. So I want to let you know that tonight, James, Craig and I are meeting with all our community group leaders. And then again on Sunday, we're meeting with our community group leaders to wrestle with what this new stage that we're entering might look like for us all as we move forward. And it's probably also worth pointing out how we're making these decisions here at Norwest. I mean, all of us are needing to make so many decisions about our lives and families and school and work at this time. You might be wondering how they're working that through at church. Well, I want to let you know that there's 4 key biblical principles that are underpinning all the decisions we're making here. You will know that the Bible's the place that we all start for how we make decisions about how we live and serve and worship our God. And that's exactly the place where we've started as we've made our decisions moving forward. So what are those 4 principles that we've been wrestling with and allowing to guide us? In no order, here's what they are. Number 1, love your neighbour. That's what Jesus says in Mark 12. Now, in our context, that means we are thinking hard about those people in our church community who need our care. We want to love them. And that actually might mean that we sacrifice certain things that we would love to do right now for the sake of their good and their flourishing in the Lord. Number 1, we want to love our neighbour. Number 2, the author of Hebrews 10 says, do not give up meeting together. God's people gather. Always have, always will. And we will not stop meeting in one form or another. And we want to encourage you to not stop meeting as well. That is a principle that we're not prepared to walk away from. Number 3, Paul writes to the church in Rome in chapter 13 of Romans, and he says, submit to the ruling authorities. We will listen to the government and respond to what they recommend every time. Now, that doesn't mean we agree with all their advice, and it doesn't mean that we may not question their advice and push back through the appropriate channels as appropriate. It just means we will follow their advice every time. And it is worth taking a moment just to slow down and recognise how wonderfully led we have been through this crisis by both our state and federal leaders, particularly when you look at anywhere else in the world, actually. We are very fortunate, very blessed, actually, under our God. Number 4, I love how the author of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3 reminds the reader that there is a time for everything in this world of God's. And that reminds me and the staff, and I want to remind you, this is a principle that we're working with, that we will not rage against the season we're in. This season is difficult to understand, hard to know how God can be working his perfect plans through it. But Ecclesiastes 3 tells us he is. We're not going to rage against the season. God has us here for his purposes, his reasons, that one day may become clear or maybe not. It doesn't matter. God is God. He is sovereign. He has us here, and we're going to allow him to lead us through this. Well, they're the 4 principles that we're enabling the staff and the leaders of Norwest, allowing to shape us and guide us in our decision making as we move forward. One final thing to say before I wrap up for the day. Will you please consider, prayerfully consider, meeting with another family to do church on a Sunday at either 10 or 6 p.m. You know, there is such blessing, there is such blessing in gathering with another church with another family to have church together. And we are becoming more and more convinced here that if this season we're in continues beyond to Christmas and beyond, which it may well, then it's going to become critical for our families, for ourselves, to engage with one another regularly around God's word and as his people. Otherwise, we are concerned that we will feel disengaged, we'll feel unknown, we'll feel unloved and uncared for. So please, as appropriate, as you feel it's suitable for you, step out from beyond yourself and your own comfort zone, which will be a challenge for sure at this time, but wisely invite others to have fellowship with you and your family. I want to leave that with you. Just last week I heard of a couple of families who did this. 2 families who actually weren't that well known to each other, but went to the same service. One invited the other accepted. They were both, I heard, were so excited about doing it and had a great time of church together and a cuppa or a meal, whatever they did. Please pray about that. And please take those opportunities. Please be on the front foot to either accept the invitation or make the invitation. That would be fabulous. Norwest, God bless you all. It's a privilege to come to Norwest, let alone lead Norwest. We seek to serve God and serve you for the glory of his Son, Jesus. Have a great week. See you online on Sunday. Bye for now.